One evening, after dinner, Mrs. Lon was getting ready for bed when she heard her granddaughter, Emma, talking to her mother in the next room. "Mommy, why does Grandma smell so strange?" "You said it was Grandma, but it was a little weird." The innocent question made Mrs. Lon feel like she had been slapped in the face. Her beloved granddaughter, who used to sit on her lap and ask for hugs, now turned away. A feeling of shame and pain filled her heart as she thought about the years of hygiene, daily bathing, fresh-smelling clothes, and meticulously prepared meals with love. She had always prided herself on her cleanliness, but now, that body odor, though she did not realize it, was there and she did not know how to get rid of it. That night, Mrs. Lon pulled the covers over her head and lay in the dark crying. The tears were not only because of Emma's words, but also because of the realization that her body was changing in a way that she could not hide or deny. She had lived a long, full life, but now this new chapter in her life was something she had not prepared for. What Lon did not know was that the changes she was experiencing were not uncommon. As people age, their bodies undergo many changes that they may not even notice. One of the most common, but often overlooked, problems is a change in body odor as they age. This odor is not a sign of poor hygiene, but a natural part of the aging process related to changes in skin chemistry and the oils secreted by the body. As we age, the sebaceous glands in our bodies become more active, secreting a special oil called naninol. This oil, when combined with sweat and dead skin cells, can create a foul odor, especially in areas of the body that are often overlooked in daily hygiene routines. Commonly affected areas include the neck, behind the ears, under the arms, and in the skin folds around the abdomen and groin. The odor can linger, even after thorough bathing, because these areas easily retain sweat and oil without being effectively washed away. For Ms. Lon, the realization that body odor is not a sign of poor hygiene, but a biological change, was both a relief and a disappointment. She had always been careful to bathe every day, but now she realized that areas like behind her ears and around her neck were prone to accumulating oil and sweat that produced a foul odor. She had never thought to thoroughly clean these areas, instead focusing on the more obvious areas like her hands, feet, and face. As she began to learn more, she realized that many other older adults were experiencing similar problems. Body odor can develop with age, and it is not a sign of laziness or neglect of hygiene. In fact, the body odor that many people associate with aging is often due to a lack of attention to specific areas, not a lack of bathing or grooming. Ms. Lon decided to try a different approach. She began to pay attention to areas she had been ignoring. She started by cleaning behind her ears and around her neck. She had no idea that just a little extra attention could make a big difference. With a warm washcloth, she gently wiped behind her ears and around her neck, areas she had neglected for years. A subtle but noticeable change occurred. The persistent odor gradually disappeared, and with it, her feelings of embarrassment. The process was not just about cleanliness, but also about regaining self-esteem and self-respect. As Lon took the time to care for her hidden areas, she felt more confident. The discomfort she felt when meeting other people gradually disappeared. She noticed that when she met friends or family, they no longer avoided her hugs. Instead, they welcomed her warmly as before. For Lon, it was more than just getting rid of an unpleasant odor, it was about regaining control over how she felt in the world. She regained a freshness and confidence that she once took for granted but now treasured. The small changes in Ms. Lance's hygiene habits not only benefited her physically, but also helped her regain her sense of confidence. She found that spending a little more time paying attention to areas of her skin that are often neglected helped her feel much fresher. The feelings of inferiority and self-consciousness that she had been carrying for a long time gradually disappeared, giving way to confidence and comfort in herself. Not only did she feel cleaner, but she also felt more valuable, as if she was taking care of herself without worrying about the changes in her body due to aging. Whenever she met friends or family members, they no longer looked at her with pity. They treated her like before, with warm hugs and big smiles. Ms. Lon realized that changes in her hygiene habits not only helped her feel more confident, but also helped her create stronger connections with the people around her. A fulfilling life requires not only physical care, but also mental care. Small changes, such as paying attention to areas of the skin that are easily forgotten, not only help the body stay clean but also bring mental peace. When Ms. Lon began to pay attention to changes in her hygiene habits, she not only noticed an improvement in her body odor, but also felt that her life became more pleasant. The worries about disturbing others with her body odor gradually disappeared. She regained freedom in her relationships, no longer feeling anxious when hugging her niece or friends. Ms. Lon understood that self-respect comes not only from maintaining personal hygiene, but also from taking meticulous and grateful care of her body. These small changes, although not big, helped her feel more confident in social interactions. In fact, this change improved her relationships with her loved ones. People not only saw her as a neat and clean person, but also felt the care and respect she had for herself. She felt like she was back to her old self, confidently standing in front of people without worrying about the changes of aging. It was the change in her hygiene habits that helped her regain her sense of independence and love for herself. She began to feel that she was not just an elderly person suffering from loneliness and physical changes, but someone who was still full of value, still able to live a happy and fulfilling life. After a few months of making small changes to her hygiene routine, Ms. Lon noticed that not only did her body odor disappear, but her overall health also improved. The comfort of bathing and cleaning areas that are easily forgotten not only made her feel better, but also helped her strengthen her connection with her own body. She began to see her body as a companion, worthy of care and respect, instead of just an object that would be forgotten over time. One beautiful morning, while Ms. Lon was drinking coffee on the porch, looking at the flowers blooming in the garden, she felt a strange serenity. It was the feeling of someone who has accepted the changes of her body and lived in harmony with them, instead of trying to avoid them. She felt the freedom of no longer worrying about unwanted body odors. The feeling of confidence and self-respect brought her a more meaningful and peaceful life. Mrs. Lon no longer feels self-conscious when meeting friends or family. She understands that small changes, like paying attention to areas of her body that are often overlooked, can have a big positive impact. She also realizes that this is not just a matter of hygiene, but also a way for her to respect herself, showing that no matter her age, she can still take care of herself and live the life she wants. For Mrs. Lon, each passing day now brings a sense of peace and satisfaction. After applying small changes in her hygiene habits, she began to feel the joy of the simple things in life. Early in the morning, she wakes up, sits by the window with a cup of hot tea, watches the sunlight shining through the branches, and feels the fresh breath of the morning air. No longer worried about body odor or changes that she cannot control, Mrs. Lon has found peace of mind again. She realizes that life is not all about big things or great achievements, but it is in the small moments, the daily routines, that we truly find meaning and satisfaction. One afternoon, as she walked in her garden, she came across a group of children playing. Her granddaughters, Emma, and her friends were dancing together in the sunlight. Seeing the children happy warmed her heart. These moments made her realize that, despite her age, she could still create joy for herself and for those around her. Taking care of herself, both physically and mentally, not only helped Lon feel more confident, but also brought a deeper connection to her family and friends. She no longer felt like an outsider at family gatherings. In fact, she felt like she could share stories, laugh with her grandchildren, and even join in conversations about life and old memories. Every day, Lon continued to practice the self-care routine she had discovered. She continued to wash areas that were easily overlooked, such as behind her ears and in the folds of her neck. She also spent more time cleaning the folds under her arms, under her breasts, and other areas where sweat and oil could accumulate. For her, it is not just about hygiene but also a way to love herself. Mrs. Lon knows that as she ages, her body will change and there are things she cannot control. However, she also realizes that maintaining a body care routine can help her feel fresh and confident, no matter how much time passes. She feels in love with her body, appreciates the changes she has experienced, and realizes that those changes are part of life, not something to be ashamed of. When she walks past the mirror every morning, she no longer worries about wrinkles or changes in her skin. Instead, she sees a strong woman who has experienced life's challenges and continues to live life to the fullest. She feels proud of herself, not because of her appearance or age, but because she knows she has lived a life full of love and care for herself and for those around her. Despite the difficult times, Lon now feels a freedom she never had before. That freedom comes not from having complete control over her body, but from accepting it as an integral part of her life. She no longer fears being forgotten or treated differently because of her age or body odor. She has learned to love and respect herself, and that has opened a new door for her in life. Lon continues to maintain these habits not just for cleanliness, but because they have become an important part of her life, helping her feel more connected to her body and mind. When she smiles in the mirror, she sees the change not only on the outside, but also on the inside. She realizes that taking care of herself is not something to be ashamed of, but an act of self-respect, an important step to living a healthy and happy life in her later years. Lan's journey is not only a story about changing hygiene habits, but also a story about maturity and self-acceptance during the aging process. She has learned that loving and caring for yourself is not something difficult or far away, but simple actions every day that help us live healthier and more confident. Lon hopes that her story will inspire other seniors to realize that they can still live a full and confident life, despite the changes of aging. Taking care of your body and maintaining hygiene habits not only brings cleanliness, but also helps each person feel loved for themselves, create strong connections with family and friends, and live a meaningful life.